The spear feels heavier today. Beoa holds it, and for the first time in 60 winters, its weight is not a comfort but a burden. A deep, grinding fire has settled in his shoulder and hip, the slow work of osteopoids, but are turning his joints to stone. He knows the feeling well. It is the price of a life lived on the edge of a spear tip, the cost of wrestling prey and surviving the charge of beasts whose names are whispered in fear. Once, his name was whispered in awe. Beoa, who faced a charging Allosaurus with nothing but a firebrand and a curse. Now a tremor lives in the muscles of his arm, a fine, traitorous vibration that comes and goes as it pleases. This is the brutal reality of prehistoric life. The body is a tool, and when a tool breaks, it is discarded. The hunt is for a lone Utahraptors, the bull separated from its herd, its mournful, trombone-like call echoing through the cypress swamp. Its crested head is a prize, a source for bowls and horns, its hide thick enough to blunt the claws of a lesser predator, its meat rich enough to feed the clan for a week. The younger hunters, led now by the swift and pragmatic Mara, move like shadows through the muck. They are a blur of coiled muscle and focused intent, their survival skills honed by Beoa himself. He taught them how to read the bent trees, how to use the wind, how to strike at the soft flesh behind the leg. Now he struggles to keep pace, the sucking mud stealing his breath and fueling the fire in his bones. He is given the place of honor, the final thrust from a concealed thicket, a role that requires patience and a single, perfect burst of strength. It is a gesture of respect, but he knows it is also a test. The great beast lumbers into the clearing, its patterned hide a mosaic of green and brown. It lowers its head to drink. Mara gives the signal, a soft click of the tongue. Beoa rises, his muscles screaming in protest. He draws his arm back, the familiar motion of a lifetime. The Utahraptors is less than 20 paces away, an impossible target to miss. But the tremor chooses that moment to return. It begins in his shoulder and races down his arm, making the spear tip dance. He throws, putting every ounce of his failing strength into it, a desperate prayer to the man he used to be. The spear flies true but weak. Instead of sinking deep into the neck, it strikes the thick, bony part of the flank with a sickening crack and lances off. The animal bellows in pain and terror, not crippled but enraged. It pins, its huge tail SCY thing through the air, and crashes blindly back the way it came, directly through the hunter's lines. A younger man, Kalen, is too slow. The tail catches his leg with the force of a falling tree. The snap of his bone is a sound louder than the beast's roar. The hunt is over. The prize is gone. And they have a wounded man to carry home because of Beoa, the legend. The walk back is silent, but Beoa can feel the weight of their eyes colder and heavier than any spear. Beoa is no longer a hunter. The title is stripped from him not by decree, but by the averted eyes of the clan. They do not leave him on a hillside to die. The injury to Kalen was an accident. Not a betrayal, but they have built a wall of pity and silence around him that is Malden. His new world is the space between the fire and the cave mouth. He watches the hunting parties leave without him, their movements fluid and confident, and the sight is a fresh wound every morning. He is a ghost at his own clan's fire, a living part of their oral tradition whose stories are now tainted by failure. He sits on a smooth, cold stone, the one that soothes the ache in his hip, and his hunt becomes one of observation. His world, once measured in spear throws and tracking signs, is now framed by the entrance of the cave. From this new static vantage point, he sees things he never saw before. He sees the way the wind patterns the tall grasses in the valley below. He sees the flight paths of the pterosaurs, realizing they follow thermal currents invisible to the eye. His focus, freed from the immediate chase, begins to understand the world's deeper grammar, and he begins to watch the new pack of Utahraptors. They are not the largest threat in this prehistoric world, but they are the smartest. They have claimed the scrubland to the north, the same area where Mara plans to track a migrating herd of iguanodonts. The younger hunters dismiss them as opportunistic pests, dangerous only if one is caught alone. Beoa, with nothing but time, sees more. He begins a new kind of study, a primitive form of ethology, learning the unwritten laws of his enemies. He notices the pattern after the third day. It is subtle, a piece of deadly choreography. One raptor, smaller than the rest and with a slight limp, will venture into a clearing alone. It moves erratically, looking weak, an easy target. It is bait. A lone Gallimimus, a young Tenontosaurus, is distracted by this apparent vulnerability. The other 5 raptors, using the tall grass as cover, encircle it. The attack is not a frenzied rush but a precise, geometric execution. They strike from 3 sides at once, their sickle claws flashing, the kill over in seconds. Beoa feels a cold dread settle in his gut. The Khan's hunters, focused on their large quarry, move with the confidence of apex predators. They would see the lone limping raptor and ignore it. They would never see the trap closing around them until it was too late. This is a new intelligence they are facing, a tactical cunning that their bravery and strength cannot overcome. He has discovered a truth that could save them all, a piece of wisdom paid for with his own exile. But the hard choice now is one of communication. How does a ghost speak to the living? How does a broken tool convince its former masters that it can still see the flaw in the world? He is Beoa the failed, Beoa the burden. His words are as weak as his spear arm. And he knows Mara is leading her party north at dawn. Beoa waits by the dying embers of the morning fire. He is a silhouette of old aches and new anxieties. When Alara passes, her spear ready in hand, he calls her name. She is young, but her eyes hold a quiet respect that the others have lost. She is Mara's second, and Kaelin's sister. Beoa does not speak of his vision as a warning from a great hunter. He speaks of it as an old man's observation, a story he has read in the grass and the wind. He describes the limping raptor, the circling shadows, the geometry of the trap. Look for the dancer, he says, his voice a dry rasp. Do not watch the bait. Watch the grass on the far side of the clearing. It will tell you where the true spears are. He expects her to nod politely and walk away. Instead, she listens, her gaze fixed on his face, seeing not the failure, but the pattern he describes. This is a crucial moment in hominid history. The first transfer of tactical wisdom from one generation to another, not as a legend, but as actionable intelligence. Mara dismisses the old man's fears as a phantom born of idleness. But Alara, walking behind her, remembers the weight in Beoa's voice. As they enter the northern scrubland, she sees it, a lone Utahraptor limping, just as he described. The other hunters ready their spears for a quick, cautionary kill. Mara motions them to ignore it, to focus on the iguanagon tracks, but Alara, remembering, does not watch the raptor. She watches the sea of grass 100 paces beyond it. They flicker of movement here, a tremor there, the grass parting in ways the wind does not command. The ghost spears. She lets out a sharp cry, not of alarm, but of command. The trap. To the rocks. She screams, pointing not at the limping raptor, but at the silent, encircling death. Her certainty shatters the hunter's focus. They scramble for the safety of a nearby rock outcropping just as 5 shapes, sleek and lethal, explode from the grass in a coordinated rush, their sickle claws slicing through the empty air where the hunters had stood moments before. That evening, the clan eats well. Following Beoa's intelligence, Alara guided the party around the raptor's trap into a small, isolated iguanagon. The victory is sweet, but the mood in the great cave is different. It is thoughtful, charged with a new understanding. When the meat is cooked and divided, Alara does something unprecedented, a profound social innovation. She takes the first and best piece, the roasted heart, always reserved for the lead hunter, and walks past us to Mara. She crosses the firelit pace and kneels before Beoa, who sits in his usual spot in the shadows. She offers him the heart. A silence falls over the clan. It is the creation of a new order. The clan watches as the old man, his hands trembling not from weakness but from emotion, accepts the offering. His worth is not in his spear arm, but in his eyes. In this single act, Alara has established the first seat of honor for an elder. Beoa is no longer a burden, he is a resource, a living library. He is the beginning of a primitive gerontocracy, where the wisdom of the old becomes the shield of the young. He eats slowly, each bite a confirmation of his new place in the world, his gaze fixed on the fire, seeing not just flames, but the future. In this quiet offering of meat, a revolution in human consciousness took place. The clan did not just save a hunter, they saved the very concept of experience. They forged a new link in the great chain of human evolution, realizing that a mind, sharpened over a lifetime of survival, was a weapon more potent than any flint-tipped spear. Biao's seat by the fire became the first library, the first school, the first council chamber. The act of honoring him transformed the brutal calculus of existence, where value was measured only in physical strength, into something more profound. It was the dawn of the understanding that a community is not just a pack of hunters, but a tapestry woven from the threads of memory and foresight. These ancient humans, in their small smoke-filled cave, had stumbled upon the foundational principle of civilization, that the stories of the past are the maps to the future, and the elders who hold them are the most valuable members of the tribe. Their fire, once just for warmth and protection, now also burned to illuminate the wisdom of ages. A society's strength is measured not by how it treats its strongest, but by how it honors its weakest. But far to the south, a different kind of wisdom was taking root, one not of stillness, but of stone.